On Talk to Kimi today, I'm delighted to welcome Alex Gray. Hello Alex, how are you?
Hello Kimi, it's so nice to speak to you.
And you too. From briefly, being a folk singer in your student days, can you describe your journey to becoming one of the top female crime writers in Scotland?
Oh, that's a nice accolade, one of the top female crime writers. I like that, thank you. Well, it's been a long journey because obviously I was a student in these days. I'm very far from a student now. I think I've always been one of these people who take big jumps into the unknown. The folk singing, I was a founder member of the Battlefield Band, which went on to great acclaim. Without me, I have to say, because I was only in it very briefly. When I left university, obviously I had to earn my own living, so I decided to join the DHSS as a visiting officer, and that was absolutely amazing. I was in Kinning Park area office, and my visiting area was Govan. Now, this is old Dickensian Govan, pre what you now. I mean, really, really old. You're talking about the 1970s. And in these days, a young woman like myself, a visiting officer, would go out completely on her own. It wasn't like the police where you've got a neighbour with you for corroboration and safety. And some of the places I went into, there were alcoholics, there were people who were been discharged from mental hospitals, who were schizophrenic or were psychopathological, old ladies and gentlemen, the wee fly men who were trying to milk the system for all it was worth. It was, in a nutshell, my postgraduate education. And I think it was through the DHSS that I really saw the need for education and decided to retrain and become a teacher. So I did that. And then, of course, family life took over. And when my daughter was little, I actually had a chance to write a children's story. I say I had a chance. I had taken ill. I'd had pneumonia when my daughter was very little.
Oh, dear.
And in the road to recovering from that, I looked up at my bedroom wall one day, and here's this lovely pen and ink drawing of Tobermory Harbour, and I just got the inspired notion to write a children's story about Tobermory and all the areas that I know so well. And having written this story, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if this was illustrated by the person who had done the pen and ink drawing? So I wrote to the artist and sent the story off. And, how would she like to illustrate it? And she sent me these fantastic paintings on dealer board. Brilliant. She was an art teacher in Inverness at the time. We got absolutely nowhere. Now, sometimes in a journey from one place to another, you're met with difficulties. It was one of these difficulties, but it wasn't a door closing. It was the journey I still had to go on to where I am now. And had that door opened for both of us, then the illustrator, Mary Hedderwick, would never have written the Katie Morak stories, and Lorimer might never have come into existence. It's just these quirks in the journey that happened to me all these years ago. And I continued with my teaching career up until 1992, when I really became very ill with ME and had to stop work. There was no question about it.
Oh, it's very debilitating.
Very debilitating. Your limbs don't work. You're sleeping night and day. Your memory is awful. You can hardly read a sentence because by the time you get to the end of the sentence, you've forgotten what it's all about. So it was a horrible time. But I did get some help, and on the road to recovery, started to write short stories again. I've written since I was wee. I've been writing all my life. A primary 4 teacher had actually told my mum and dad when I was 8 that I was going to grow up to be an author, but that's a very, very long beginning of the story, long before the folk singing days. So I started writing for publication. Here I was, post-illness, unable to work, and the very first thing I sent away got published. The next thing I did was to join a writer's workshop, and it's something I would always recommend. The writer's workshop I belonged to then, and still do belong to, is Erskine Writers' Workshop, and it's affiliated to the Scottish Association of Writers, and every year they have an annual conference, and I was encouraged to go along and enter some of their competitions. And the first year I won the short story competition, and it was there that I realised they had lots of very prestigious competitions, and one was for a first novel, and the following year I won that, and that was for the book that was going to become my first published Lorimer story. So that was really the beginning of it. And one of the other big milestones in that journey was when I went to the Black Isle to a crime writing seminar called A Criminal Event. It's up in Fortrose Academy. And the big attraction was twofold. One, there was a short story crime competition, short crime story competition, and the other was P.D. James as a guest speaker. Now, I didn't get anywhere in the competition, and P.D. James was lovely, but what really made me a crime writer of police procedurals was that there were 3 different speakers who all took as their subject a real-life crime in that area. One was the Chief Constable of Grampian, one was a Procurator Fiscal, and the other was a forensic biologist.
Wow.
And when they related their particular input to this murder case, I was completely and utterly hooked. And I went away from that conference knowing I was going to be a crime writer, knowing that it was going to be police procedurals. And from then to now, it's been a hard journey. It took me 12 shots, 12 different publishers before Canongate first picked me up. I'm now with one of the biggest publishers in the world, Little Brown. I always believed in myself. I always believed that, that this was going to happen for me. And every time I sent something away and it got back, the review that I would have from the reader in the publishing house was always very positive. In fact, one big publishing house, actually, the reader phoned me up at home and said, I love this book, I wish we could publish it, but we've got so many Scots writers in our crime list that I'm not allowed to take you on.
Oh, how encouraging.
But eventually it happened. So it was a long, long haul. And of course, I'm now writing, I'm almost 70,000 words as of this morning into the book for 2017. It's hard work. Make no mistake about it, it's hard work. It's a joy. Living this parallel life with all my characters is fantastic. And I think one of the best things about the whole thing is the people I've met who were once just names on book jackets are now personal friends, like Ian Rankin, Chris Brookmeyer, Anne Cleve, and a host of others. So it's been a fantastic journey, an absolutely fantastic journey. And I've always felt doors don't close for me, they open. Okay, I had to give up my teaching career, but that was not a door closing behind me. It was a door opening, but I couldn't actually see at the time.
Yeah, it's a very positive outlook to have.
I think so. I think I'm a very positive person. Sometimes my optimism gets up.
No, I think that's a trait that we should all embrace. Was there any time, did you ever give up hope of...
No, I never ever did. Every time I read my first manuscript, I thought, I like this. This is good. This is going to get published. And I would tinker with it. I would take advice from people who wanted to, professional people who wanted to read it. I would really work hard at it. And time after time after time, I would send it away. And I just knew in my heart of hearts it was going to be published one day. And it wasn't an egoistic thing. It was more a kind of innate understanding that this was what I was meant to do.
Good. And luckily for us, it came through. Okay, Alex, from Never Somewhere Else being published, in which areas would you say that you've evolved creatively?
Well, when you get your first book published, you start a completely new learning curve. And that is, you find out all about the publishing world. And I think one of the things I've learned creatively is from my editors. And thinking in terms of each book being a standalone, while it's part of a series, you've got to be very careful with certain things. You can't take for granted that the readers know what's in your mind, or that every subsequent book, the readers will have read the previous one. So you have to do a little bit of groundwork and always maybe a little bit of potted history or backstory about the characters. So that was a learning curve. And one of the things I've always liked doing, but I think it's something I've learned even more creatively, is to show the setting of my stories with a real eagle eye so that the reader can see what I'm seeing. I go out and I take photos and I do videos, but at the same time when I'm sitting there at my desk, this inner eye that Wordsworth used to talk about is there all the time. I can see what I'm describing. I can see my characters doing things. And I get letters from all around the world from folk, well, emails nowadays, of course, saying, oh, that was great. You just took me back to Govan or Kelvin Grove or George Square or Hall Street. I remember Glasgow when I was wee, and all this kind of thing. And people really like the setting.
Yes.
So I think that's something I've learned creatively, since the inception of Never Somewhere Else. Are I used to go out with my camera and my notebook, and nowadays it's the wonderful iPad because I can take video clips. It's fab.
Oh, and you could write on that. You can do everything on it now.
Aye, that's true.
Okay, thanks for that, Alex. If you could pick any actors to portray DCI Lorimer and Solomon Brightman, who would you choose?
Well, with Lorimer, it's always been a toss-up between Clive Owen and Gerard Butler. When you see the most recent adverts of Gerard Butler doing his aftershave adverts, I think, yes, he would be a good Lorimer. Plus, of course, he comes from this neck of the woods. I think he would be. I mean, Clive Owen's got the classy good looks, but I think Gerard Butler's more of a Lorimer.
Yeah, I think he gets my vote too.
Oh yes, but Solly, Solly's harder. I'll tell you why. I cannot see Lorimer's face.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot of authors are like that. Their main character, they cannot see their face. They can see glimpses of them. But with Solly, he came to me fully formed. He just came to me in a flash. I used to hear people say that when I was a young wannabe writer, and I say, yeah, pretentious git. Something about came to me enough. And I had to flippin' well eat my words when it happened to me. I come into my study, and here was this bloke perched on the edge of my desk, fully formed, name, everything. So I have an image of Solly, and I don't know another actor who looks like him. I think I would have to go through an agent's casting book to find a look-alike. But there's not one person I can actually say, oh, that famous actor would do Solly.
Okay, that's interesting. You co-founded Bloody Scotland with Lynn Anderson.
Yes.
And you're also part of the Femme Fatale tour with both Lynn and Alana Knight.
That's right.
Which do you enjoy participating in the most?
Well, both of them, because the three of us get together at both events. And in fact, next week, when my book's launched, the new one, The Darkest Goodbye, it's dedicated to Alana, and Lynn's introducing it.
Oh, okay.
So the three of us do an awful lot of stuff together, and we enjoy both equally. I think because we were all there at the conference when Lynn and I had that second bottle of Prosecco, which preceded the birth of our thought, let's have a crime writing festival in Scotland. And Alana had gone off to other tables to see other people, and the pair of us were sitting drinking this Prosecco till the cows came home. But we travelled down to Lincoln, to that place together, that conference where it all happened, and we travelled back together, and we never stopped talking, the three of us, about what we could do. It really was Lynn and myself, but Alana was always laying in the background making encouraging noises.
Okay, so you've got the release of Darkest Goodbye next week?
Oh, today? Can you believe it?
Exciting!
Can you believe it? Oh, goodness me. So excited about it. I was at the Scottish Braille Press yesterday and saw the Braille version, which is also coming out on the 3rd, and I'm just so excited because all of my books have been put into Braille, but this is the first time that they've actually managed to coincide with the launch date for their own Braille version. Yeah, so it's really good, yeah.
And what else is coming up for you this year?
Oh, a lot. Got lots of different festivals. Apart from Edinburgh International Book Festival, and I Write, of course, is next month. It's coming up very soon. I'll be going on a book tour as soon as the book's out. Gosh, what else? Edinburgh, Bloody Scotland, then almost immediately after Bloody Scotland, I'm flying out to New Orleans for the VoucherCon US conference.
Very good.
That's September, and then November I'll be going to Iceland for the Iceland Noir in Reykjavik. So quite a lot of things happening.
Yeah, very
And I'm
exciting.
celebrating a special wedding anniversary this year as well, so we're trying to book a couple of nice wee breaks.
In between all of your comings and goings.
Yes, so I'll be going to Venice in May. So for a romantic short break, so that'll be nice.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
And what will be arriving the day a week before our wedding anniversary will be me delivering the next book, so I can go away with an easy conscience.
Okay, so which one is top of your achievements at the moment? The wedding anniversary or the book release?
The wedding anniversary.
Good, that's
but
the best.
You know, funny when you see a new book, it's like, this is Mum speaking. You know, it's like one of your children. No, I think a happy marriage is one of the most wonderful things to celebrate.
Yes. Okay, Alex, just a couple of random questions for you. If you could be invisible for a day, who would you shadow and why?
Right. I think I would love to shadow Nicola Benedetti. I'm a huge admirer of that young woman. and her music and her skill. When I go on long car journeys, I always take some of her music with me. And I listen to classic FM practically all the time, and I can always distinguish from one violinist to another that, oh, that's Nicola playing. I first heard her live up at the St Magnus Music Festival in Orkney, which was a fantastic privilege. I would love to spend a day invisibly shadowing Nicola. And can you imagine how uplifted you would feel after a day being with her and listening to her music? I think that would be bliss.
I think you should just ask her.
She'd probably say yes.
She probably would.
Yeah, she probably would, definitely.
I'll try and arrange that for an anniversary gift for you.
Oh, wow.
People say that the devil is in the detail. So with that in mind, do you measure your cooking ingredients to the recipe or guesstimate the amounts? Well,
do you know, I do both. But when I'm cooking, I guesstimate, but when I'm baking, I always measure. It's funny, I would never guesstimate for baking, but always for cooking, I'm a kind of ready, steady cook kind of cook. What's in the fridge? Oh, let's have this. A very healthy eater, so I'll look to see what we have and cut all the fat off things, and I don't use a lot of fats or butters or oils or stuff. I use loads of vegetables and fruit and things in cooking. But I like to make things up as well. I think that's one of the good things. I find cooking very relaxing. I make a home-cooked meal every single day.
Right.
Pots of soup. Well, my husband's very good at curries and risottos. So that's nice. So sometimes I'll say, can you cook tonight or can you cook tomorrow? I'm going to be really busy, or if I'm away doing meetings or events or stuff, he'll be very good. But I tend to do big batch cooking so that when I know there's a busy time coming up, there's loads of stuff in the freezer to take out the night before.
Right, yeah, that's a wise choice.
But my weakness is cakes, and I do love a nice cake.
What's your favourite cake?
Anything by Mary Berry. I really do like her coffee and walnut cake. I'm very partial to that.
Okay.
And I'm terribly fond of choux pastry, so I love my own eclairs.
I like those. Okay. Alex, one more question. As you said earlier on that you'd written the children's book.
Yes.
And you got in contact with the illustrator, and at that time the journey went in an opposite direction.
Yes, and I've written a book for my grandson. He's now 6, but for his first birthday, I wrote this book, and it's like a Julia Donaldson type A4 book, illustrated professionally, and it's called The Hat That Came Back. Now, when my daughter was off on maternity leave, I took herself and the baby away to Lanzarote for a week, just for a complete break, because she hadn't been well. And this wee rascal was only a few months old, and of course he had to wear his sun hat, and he kept flinging it off. And somehow or another, this hat kept being found. So I wrote this wee book called The Hat That Came Back. And as I had it professionally illustrated, and it was just a joy to see the family's expressions when they saw this. And a lot of the illustrations were based on photographs we'd taken on holiday. I would love to write one for his big sister, who's now 8, and I had an idea for it. I do write a lot of other things. I've published poetry, I've written for BBC Radio, I've written short stories and articles, and I even occasionally write monologues based on by biblical characters.
Oh, okay.
A wee collection of them. It's never been published yet. Once I've got enough, I'll maybe put them all together in an anthology. But sometimes the minister will get a day off on a Sunday, and I'll stand up and do a monologue in one of the characters from the Bible.
Interesting.
So yes, I've got quite a few strings to my bow, but writing a 100,000-word manuscript every year is a big, big ask, with all the research and everything that entails, and I do a heck of a lot of research.
So the last thing you need is somebody like me coming on and taking up your precious time.
That's okay. I've been up since Sparrow Fart this morning and already written 2,000 words, so I'm quite happy.
Well done. To say is thank you so much for talking to me today.
That's been a pleasure.
I wish you the best with The Darkest Goodbye, which is released 1 week today, and I hope you enjoy all your other celebrations this year.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been a joy to speak to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Alex. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.